Falling asleep and staying asleep can be a real problem as we get older, especially as we hit that perimenopausal, menopausal transition. So today I want to talk about melatonin. Melatonin is our hormone of sleep and it comes out in the darkness. Think of it like the moon. Whereas cortisol, which is our hormone of energy, so to speak, or hormone of stress, that comes out in the day, and think of it like the sun. So in this video, I'm going to break down all things melatonin because production of melatonin from our brain that goes out in circulation and helps with sleep does decline with age. And researchers say, especially for women going through the whole perimenopausal, menopausal transition, they really notice it. Hi, my name is Dr. Carrie Jones. I am a women's health and hormone expert, and you're going to want to hit that subscribe button because I know hormones can feel like herding cats, and I am here to help. Now, let's get into all things melatonin because melatonin, there's a lot of controversy, and quite honestly, there's a lot of myths. So let's bust some of those. First of all, melatonin is billions of years old. Billions with a B. She's the oldest antioxidant we have. It's like that car commercial. Melatonin knows a thing or two because she's seen a thing or two. After billions of years, absolutely. Now, you make melatonin, honestly, all over your body. But the melatonin I'm talking about today comes from the brain. It comes from a gland up there called the pineal gland. And when your pineal gland makes melatonin, that is what goes out in circulation and floats around. It has a lot to do with the circadian rhythm. You've probably heard this term before. It's really important in the human body, and it's become really important on social media as a result. Your circadian rhythm is that you go up with cortisol in the morning, get your butt out of bed, give yourself a little bit of glucose, reduce some pain. That's ideal. And then you go down at night with melatonin so that you can fall asleep and stay asleep. So as humans, we have this rhythm that we're going to talk about in a second. And if you disrupt the rhythm, you get an entire downstream cascade effect where you feel bad. It affects all your other symptoms and systems. And we have to make that right. Okay, how do you make melatonin? Believe it or not, melatonin comes from eventually, like way upstream, is tryptophan. Tryptophan, you can get that from food. Tryptophan turns into 5-HTP, just like this supplement, but you make it in your body as well. 5-HTP turns into serotonin. Then you hit another step, N-acetylserotonin. Then you make melatonin. Yep, it comes from tryptophan, 5-HTP, serotonin to melatonin. Now, you need a few key nutrients to make this work. B6, the active form is P5P. You need zinc, and you need magnesium. And I talk a lot about my favorite magnesium that you are welcome to check out. Now, when we're working with melatonin, other than needing to come from these upstream hormones such as serotonin and needing these extra nutrients, you also need darkness. Darkness is the big rate limiting step for making melatonin. So as the sun starts to go down, as you start to be in darkness, melatonin production generally starts about 90 to 120 minutes before your average bedtime. Humans tend to stick to an average bedtime. You may not on the weekends, so things may be a little messed up there, but generally in your Monday through Friday, you're probably in bed-ish around the same time. And because you've been doing this your whole life, your melatonin production figures it out and starts to rise to prepare you around when you're gearing up to get ready for bed. Now, when we are looking at melatonin and melatonin production, you don't actually make a lot. Not a lot that goes out in circulation anyway. Your cells make a lot, but what's up here from the pineal gland, you don't make a lot. Adults make about 0.3 to 0.5 milligrams of melatonin, which could be totally shocking because you're used to supplements that are 1 milligram, 5 milligrams, 3 milligrams, like these big hefty doses. And actually the human body makes way less. And kids make a tiny bit more, but then as they hit adulthood, it does go down. Now, as I said, it is a super powerful antioxidant. So we do use it, one, for the circadian rhythm, but we also use it for its ability to fight, to help, to defend. So you hear of other antioxidants, you hear of glutathione, you hear of vitamin C, you hear of vitamin E, CoQ10, superoxide dismutase. Melatonin, I think, ranks at the top. When you're billions of years old, like you've earned your certification and more in being a top antioxidant. So we want our melatonin production in all our cells, but also out of our pineal gland to be excellent, because you want that antioxidant benefit as much as you want the circadian rhythm help. Now, before we get into, well, how do I increase my melatonin? Should I take melatonin? Let me give you like the biggest myth buster of all. And that is, there is no negative feedback loop. Not according to the big melatonin researchers, Dr. Cipolla or Dr. Ryder. When people take melatonin, there is a big misconception. I see it all over social media that says if you take melatonin, the supplement, it's going to stop your own production. Your brain will not make melatonin anymore, or you will not make it in your cells. And according to Dr. Cipolla and Dr. Ryder, that is absolutely not true. There is no negative feedback loop. Now, with age, you may need more melatonin. With stress, you may need more melatonin. There are other reasons you find over time that you feel better or do better with more melatonin if your practitioner has you taking melatonin. But it's not because the melatonin has shut down your own production. So I want to throw that myth like right out there because I hear it all the time. Now, what does decrease melatonin production besides age? Well, as you could probably guess, that bright light, white light, blue light, TV light, screen light, your iPad reader light, your book light, like every light that you've got going on is going to downregulate melatonin production out of the pineal gland. This is why you will hear often people talk about wind down before bed, start to turn down some lights, wear the orange, reddish, blue light blocking glasses, change your background screen on your phone to a more reddishy, orangey tint. I actually have a shortcut on my phone. I have an iPhone, and I click the side 3 times and my background turns orange. It's like an orangey red tint. You can also look that up online to see how to do that, how to make that shortcut happen. I've had it for, I don't even know, 10 years, 15 years at this point. So once I get later in the day, I click my on button or my side button 3 times and change the background. That way, if I don't happen to have blue light blocking glasses, then my background on my phone, if I'm using it, isn't a bright white light staring me in the face at night, interrupting my melatonin. It's a softer orangey reddish hue. Now, to get melatonin production, I mentioned tryptophan, 5-HTP, serotonin. If you're deficient in any of those, you're going to struggle to make melatonin. And to convert those hormones are genetic SNPs. So if you have any variance in those SNPs, if you have variance in your melatonin SNPs, then you may not make melatonin because you have that genetic issue. If you're deficient in any of those nutrients, B6 or zinc or magnesium, you're going to struggle to make melatonin. And there are certain medications that seem to decrease it, such as fluoxetine, which is Prozac, calcium channel blockers for the heart, beta blockers for the heart, and NSAIDs, such as ibuprofen. And the reason I bring this up is that if you're taking these things consistently, over time, it may suppress or decrease your melatonin production. If you're just taking the one-off, let's say ibuprofen, or you're just taking the one-off acetaminophen, something for pain or a headache before bed, don't panic. Don't think like you've ruined your melatonin for life. However, if this is something you're chronically taking and you struggle with sleep, that it could go hand in hand. Now let's talk about improving melatonin production. Obviously, you're just going to do the opposite of what everything I just said reduces it, right? You're going to consider using the blue light blockers. You're consider wind down before bed. You're going to not use all the big bright lights. Be mindful of what you're watching on TV, how much TV you're watching leading right up before bed, especially if you're struggling to sleep. I know some people are like, I can watch TV, I can read on my Kindle right up until I go to bed. My head hits the pillow and I fall asleep. Fantastic. That's great. A lot of people can't. And a lot of people notice as they hit perimenopause that they can't anymore. They used to be able to stay up late watching Netflix, getting all jazzed up and fall asleep, and they can't do that now that they've gotten over 40 or over 50. So please be aware that, again, like age really does play a role. The communication, the connection up to the pineal gland isn't what it used to be. It's not a big, strong bridge to the pineal gland. It becomes sort of rickety and it's fallen apart. So we may find we have to help it as much as possible. So light, this includes in the middle of the night. If you get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom and you turn on the bright bathroom light, that will cut melatonin production. So you may want to use gentler, softer lights. You may want to have a dimmer night light that you can turn on versus the overhead light. You want to just be very careful. You want to sleep in complete darkness. Humans on the circadian rhythm, remember I mentioned we were going to talk about this? On the circadian rhythm, humans don't run on 24 hours. We're a little less or a little more than 24 hours. Now your clock, your phone, your computer, that runs on 24 hours. The world, it runs on 24 hours. Human bodies don't. So we have to set and reset our body every single day. What we do at night is sleep in darkness. Darkness is a big resetter of our circadian rhythm, of our 24-hour clock, trying to get it back to 24 hours. Light in the morning. This is why I talk about full spectrum light exposure in the morning. Go outside, get a full spectrum light box that you can use in the morning, like on your counter. Light and dark are what set and reset your circadian rhythm. This may mean in your room that you have to sleep with a sleep mask, sleep in complete darkness. Make sure you don't have hallway lights, night lights, lights from electronics, light out your window that's interrupting. You may need to get blackout curtains. You may need to be covering up some lights that are shining, such as little buttons on plugins and things that you have at night that glow. It could be enough, especially as we get older than 40 or 50. These little nuances that didn't used to bother us before are bothering us now. So sleep in complete darkness. Now, lastly, what about melatonin supplementation? Well, I am a doctor, but I am not your doctor. So you always want to talk to your practitioner about if melatonin production is right or supplementation is right for you. With melatonin supplementation, the average out there is somewhere between 1 to 5 milligrams that you would take about an hour or two before bed to help prep you so you can fall asleep and stay asleep. But remember what I said, physiologically, as an adult, you're only making 0.3 to 0.5. So thankfully, now some companies are making melatonin at a 0.5 level, or some people I know are taking the 1 milligram and they're just cutting it in half and using half of it or dumping half of it out if it's in a capsule or figuring out some that way. That can be really nice. I always advocate that if you're working with your practitioner and they are like, yeah, you're cleared, try melatonin, but they don't really give you any guidance on what to take or how to take, that you go low and slow. Because some of the side effects of melatonin are you may wake up feeling drowsy, but you also may have really wild and crazy dreams. And some people have the opposite effect of melatonin that actually keeps them awake. It's called a paradoxical reaction. Instead of helping their sleep, it keeps them awake. So we try to go low and slow. I tend to use the 0.3 to 0.5 milligram. In fact, there's a really great company called Herbatonin, Natural Symphony International. I have zero relation to it, but they've done a lot of research on melatonin, so I do like to give them props and credit for being the leaders in melatonin information that's out there, and they do have a 0.5 milligram. However, let's say you're just at the store, you're ordering online, and you're like, well, what if I start with a 1 milligram? Talk to your practitioner. Low and slow is best. You may need to go up. 2 milligrams, 3 milligrams, 5 milligrams at night may be helpful. Now, do I use melatonin forever? Well, here's where it gets sticky as well. The big melatonin researcher, Dr. Ryder, says yes. Once you get over the age of 50, he feels, based on his research, that you should be on melatonin because the connection in your brain to make melatonin to the pineal gland really does break. It kind of falls apart. So he feels that once you're over a certain age, you probably should be on melatonin like a replacement. And of course, it's a powerful antioxidant. Other people test their melatonin to see. So for example, there are urine company tests out there, such as the Dutch test. The Dutch test checks melatonin. So I routinely do my Dutch test to see what my melatonin production is doing. Melatonin is collected in urine. It's a first morning urine, which is the urine I've had the melatonin in through the night, and then first morning urine, and that'll tell me like what's my melatonin up to. So far, as I record this video, in my mid to late 40s, my melatonin production is still a-okay. I may still spot treat melatonin if I've crossed a lot of time zones. I'm a huge fan of using melatonin for crossing time zones and helping with sleep and resetting to the time zone or country or wherever I'm at. I still may spot treat if I struggle to sleep. had issues with sleeping, and I may say, I think tonight's a melatonin night. That may really help me get me back on schedule with my circadian rhythm. So again, work with your practitioner to decide what's right for you. Because as I said, melatonin is the master circadian rhythm, and it helps set the rhythm for everything. Your menstrual cycle, if you're still cycling, your hunger cues, it plays a role in glucose and insulin and blood pressure. I mean, melatonin really does affect the whole body. So I hope this was helpful in explaining all things melatonin, the fact that as we go through perimenopause, hit that around that age, our melatonin production naturally goes down, but it naturally goes down kind of in all humans. As I said, Dr. Ryder says, once you get above 50 years old, the production out of that pineal gland is not what it used to be. And so we have to keep a tight eye on it because I want you to have good sleep. I want you to have a powerful antioxidant. I don't want you to have glucose, insulin, or blood pressure problems. So my name is Dr. Carrie Jones. Hit that subscribe button. Leave any questions below. I know hormones can feel like herding cats, and I'm here to help.